In this video, we're going to take a look around the Handley Page Hastings at the Royal Air Force Museum at RAF Cosford. The Handley Page Hastings first flew on the 7th of May 1946 and was introduced into service in 1948. The aircraft was designed as a freight transport and troop carrier, and at the time was the largest transport aircraft to enter service with the Royal Air Force. The type was hastily entered into service so that it could take part in the Berlin Airlift. Following the end of the Second World War in 1945, both Germany and its capital Berlin were divided into 4 occupation zones. 3 in the west that belonged to Britain, France and the US, and 1 in the east that belonged to Soviet Russia. Since Berlin was located deep within the Soviet zone of Germany, it had to be supplied from the west by canal, road and rail. When the Soviets blocked access to West Berlin in 1948, the Western Allies had to supply Berlin from the air to prevent the population from running out of food and other supplies. The airlift lasted from June 1948 until May 1949, and during that time, the United States Air Force delivered over 1.7 million tons of supplies, and the RAF delivered over 500,000 tons, over 10% which was delivered by Hastings aircraft like this one. The Handley Page Hastings worked alongside American aircraft such as the C-47 Dakota and C-54 Skymaster, as well as other British aircraft including the short Sunderland and the Handley Page Halton. Interestingly, the Handley Page Halton was a civilian transport version of the Handley Page Halifax 4-engine bomber. As production numbers increased, the Hastings gradually replaced the aging Avro York, which, like the Halifax to the Halton, was itself a development of the Avro Lancaster 4-engine bomber. The Hastings also took part in the Suez Crisis in 1956 and was exported to other air forces such as the Royal New Zealand Air Force. A passenger airline version was developed from the Hastings and became known as the Handley Page Hermes. The Hermes was intended to enter service before the Hastings, were it not for the first prototype being lost on its maiden flight in December 1945. Initially developed as a 4-engine piston aircraft, later versions were fitted with more powerful turboprop engines. The Hermes entered service with the airlines in 1950 and were operated by British Overseas Airways Corporation, which was also known as BOAC. The Hastings would eventually be replaced by the larger Bristol Britannia, which first flew in 1952 and entered service in 1957, as well as the Lockheed Hercules, which first flew in 1954 and entered service in 1956. It's fascinating to think that so many Hercules aircraft are still in service in 2023. The Royal Air Force has started to replace its older Hercules aircraft with the French-built Airbus A400M.